Many fall in the face of chaos, but not this one. Not today.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. How are you? We're back. We're back.
Yes.
For the Q&A. So we're really, really happy to be here today. So we're going to have a Q&A with our designer. But first, what you just saw was an amazing animation by Darkhood. So go check him out. Go check him out on YouTube.
Yeah, he's really amazing.
Pretty sure we can manage to get the link to his channel and chat as well. Seriously, that was impressive. It is my personal favorite for the year.
Same.
Yep. Same, everyone. Who's this we have with us? So, hello, I'm not Queen. I'm now lead community manager. So, yay. You guys know Patricia. She's been introduced a few months ago, like 6 months, 8 months ago.
8 months ago.
As a new community manager at the studio here. Yep. And we're super happy to introduce the newest addition to our community management team. Say your name.
Peanuts.
Say your name again.
Sounds dirty.
So it's best that we call him P, I guess.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, that works.
With my accent, I'm going to call you P, because, yeah.
So people in forums already know you.
Yep.
So you were around for a long time, since Alpha, actually.
Yeah, start of the Alpha, yeah.
So he's now joining the team officially at the studio. So welcome and congrats.
Thank you.
And also, people who are working behind the scene right now, our mods that are working really hard on the chat right now, our community managers at, or external community managers as well, so shout out. Shout out to everyone here who are organizing our streams. It's awesome to be back at it.
Yes,
so,
thank you guys.
So it's his first stream. You're probably gonna see a lot more of him in the future, but I'm going to let him do the fun announcement for today. So there you are.
Yeah, there's double blood points from May 2nd to May 6th.
Yay! So we have dates now. So we announced it-ish. Not really announced it, but talked about it on social media. And now we have dates. What are the dates again?
May 2nd to May 6th.
Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Awesome. So today we're here to talk about the mid-chapter update. So 2.7.0, we're going to talk about specific subject. We're going to go through Q&As. We actually received a ton of questions. He had the super fun job of going through all the questions. So we're going to start with the designers about Legion updates. So I'm going to invite designers, I guess, right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up and saying hi. Pat almost threw up. Don't leave with the mics.
I'll try.
Oh, God.
All right. So I'm going to invite the designers that are working on Legion. And Mr. Stefan Orvat, you know that guy. Live designer. I'm holding your mic.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Orvat. Chat is going nuts. All right. So this is Stefan Orvat. You know him. And this is Ethan.
Yeah.
So Ethan's a game designer for us. He worked on Legion. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Legion changes first. Then we're going to go to endgame scenario, endgame collapse, my bad. We're going to have Guillaume, one of our designers, joining us as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the general PTB changes, a little bit questions about dedicated servers, the pig changes as well. So a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So let's start right now.
All right.
About Legion update. What's
Legion
up with
update.
that?
Hello. So I have a few notes. Just the big question that was on everybody's mind is why did we change the Legion as much and how as we did? So I'll go over what we had in mind. So first of all, what went wrong? We created the Legion. We wanted a high-speed killer who would deal partial damage to a lot of different survivors. That's why we gave him the speed. But the way we implemented it, we ended up with a high-speed killer who was really good at tunneling one survivor. We all know how much fun it is to be tunneled, so we decided to address this. So we had a problem in having a killer that was, on one hand, very annoying to play against, and on the other hand, was not super powerful. So that's kind of hard to fix. If you just nerf it, then it gets worse. And anyway, it's a really messy problem. So the way we approached the problem was to look at the different problems that there are. And there was not enough counterplay. It was too easy for the Legion to just trigger his power and run you down. It was too tunnely, too easy for him to track one person. The hunting tools for finding multiple people didn't work very well. And there was, of course, the deep wound exploit, where if the Legion approached you while not looking at you, your timer would go down on deep wound and he'd just kill you. It was terrible. Okay. So the way we fixed these things is we added counterplay. So now if you're in Feral Frenzy and you swipe and miss, it stops and you go down into fatigue. This is so that if a survivor does a 360 and you miss, then you're out of Feral Frenzy. Pallet and window vault speeds were reduced so that going through a window or dropping a pallet is still a little useful. We removed the ability to see blood pools while you are in Feral Frenzy so that if you're using it to traverse the map, you're not going to get random information from other people who run by. You need to use it in a very focused manner. And now when you come out of Feral Frenzy, the fatigue phase is 4 seconds instead of 3 to give the survivor enough time to run away. So that's all the counterplay. To make it less tunnely, if you are in Feral Frenzy and you hit a survivor who already has deep wound on him, it will not reduce the mend time. So you cannot keep hitting the same person with Feral Frenzy and down them. That encourages you to go after other targets. And now you can no longer activate Feral Frenzy until it is full. The new fill time is 10 seconds. It used to take 6 seconds. So now once you go out of Feral Frenzy, you have to wait a long time to use it again. That makes sure that you can't finish a frenzy, come up, wait 5 seconds, and trigger it again to run that last bit of distance. So that part is gone. Now we have to give him something in return for this. We gave him better hunting tools. Now I know having lower frenzy speed sounds like it's not a better hunting tool, but we were able to give him higher duration. So now during one Feral Frenzy, you cover 50 meters on the map instead of only 30. So it's easier to go look for other people while you're in Feral Frenzy because you have more time to do it.
And how much time do you actually have? Because you're talking about the actual distance.
It's now, you get 10 seconds in Feral Frenzy. It used to be 6 seconds.
Okay.
So you're getting plus 40% there. So the move speed being at 5 instead of 5.28 nets you more distance, so you can use Killer Instinct better. And then, of course, we removed the deep wound exploit. The deep wound timer now stops while in terror radius, not when you're in the chase, so just looking the wrong direction won't do that anymore. So that was how we approached it.
Awesome.
So there was a lot of questions with those changes, specifically on miss attacks, for example. So by losing your power from missing an attack, specifically on console, it seems to be to have like a worse effect than on PCs. We received a lot of feedback for this.
So basically with controller in general, due to the sensitivity and the way that the controller works in comparison to the keyboard and mouse, which is a lot more precise, people are missing a lot more often. Are we looking into anything in particular to do with that?
We'll have to take a look at how people actually perform and check if the Legion's performance on consoles relatively changes differently than it does on PC. So if we see console Legion players doing worse than the PC players do after the patch, then we'll have to take a look at that and see what we could do to address it.
Absolutely. People have been suggesting that we can have a partial loss of points, like a significant amount, but not the whole amount. So depending on when you miss, it might put you out of Feral Frenzy, or whatever the case may be. These are things that we will exploit.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not, the door is not closed for that.
The
to
door is not
change.
closed for that.
Okay.
We,
All right.
we will check what the data says and then see what happens.
Cool. So I have a couple of questions here about Legion update. There's one by Nell. This is actually a long question. Are you?
I'm having
are you
a hard
all
time with
right
my
there?
mic. I'm sorry.
If we look
Seems all over
at
the place.
Nell's whole question, most of it's been answered by our
Yeah.
explanation earlier, but he does ask, will lockers continue to not be searchable in Feral Frenzy? And we have discovered that players are hopping in a locker to avoid the frenzy, and with the 4-second cooldown, that's too powerful. So we're putting it back so that during Feral Frenzy, the Legion will be able to open lockers again.
So it's already back on the PTB, I think, right?
I think it made the build.
It made the build, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
There's the other question about the vault speed. Players, so we reduced the Feral Frenzy speed, and by definition, we reduce as well the vaulting speed, right? Right now, there's a lot of feedback about it feels very, very slow. Is it because the speed is so different that it's very slow,
We
or?
only changed it about 10 to 15%, but it's now out of sync with the animation speed. So we
okay.
have to resync the animations to feel right for the speed you're going.
Okay.
Absolutely. We saw these changes when we looked at like the medium vault, when we had done these changes for the survivors. So survivors, if you remember how the medium vault felt prior to the medium vault change, where the animation was a lot more fluid and it felt like it worked very well, we were basically speeding up a very slow animation to match the new time. After getting the proper animation, it felt a lot more smooth and easy to do, and felt a lot faster actually, because it just didn't feel like a hiccup. We'll be doing the same treatment for the Legion, we just don't know exactly when.
All right. So why lower Feral Frenzy's movement speed? What's wrong with their Feral Frenzy speed now? How do you expect Legion to be a bigger threat than they were before?
We wanted to lower the speed so that we could give it more duration. Because once you trigger Feral Frenzy and hit somebody, Killer Instinct kicks in, and you see blips for other people who are in your terror radius. And we wanted the player to be able to search the map for a period of time looking for somebody else using Killer Instinct. And 6 seconds wasn't enough. So we wanted to give them like 10 seconds, but if they were still moving at 5.28, they'd be able to cover 70 meters or 75 meters. Would be way too much. So we had to cut the speed down a bit so that we could give them that extra time to do some hunting.
All right. So basically, we're changing the gameplay where the goal is not to down the survivor you found, but to go find more people
Yes.
with that power.
That's
All right.
exactly it.
Is there any ideas for adding an incentive for tagging multiple survivors with frenzy? So going with
Okay.
that answer. Currently with these changes, mending will be the same as before, which means that it can be easily removed.
So we took a look at this question because it is a very good question. And then we asked ourselves, what incentives are there to hit multiple people? There is on-hit effects, so like Sloppy Butcher. Every time you hit somebody, they get extra Sloppy Butcher. So if you're using Feral Frenzy on one person, you're missing out on that benefit. So you get your on hits. Killer Instinct will help you track down a lot more people with its large radius, because it's your terror radius, and the greater time you get to spend in Killer Instinct. If you hit all 4 people, like I did in the playtest the other day, and they all have Deep Wound on them, they're all mending, none of them are doing gens.
Yeah.
That gives you time to kick generators and to put more pressure on them. And you also, while you're chasing multiple people, you run around the map more, and you hear more information about the generator. So there's already a lot of incentives built in to encourage you to hit multiple players. If we find out that we need to add more incentives, that is something we will consider. But at the moment, we already think we have enough.
Did we consider anything else? I know we did.
I think we did, but I would hesitate to mention it because
That's
it might
fair.
sound like too awesome. And I'll say,
No,
how come you didn't do
calm
that?
yourself,
Like,
calm
it's because it's dangerous.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Now you're in for a lot of questions.
I'm in for a lot of questions.
You know-
Yes.
They're going to be, well, why did you not do that if it was awesome then?
It would have been really fun to play. Like, imagine if you had Tombstone Myers and you could just Mori people. That would be kind of fun, but it wouldn't be fun for the survivors. Allowing the Legion to do some of the things we considered as alternatives would have made him more oppressive for the survivors, and we wanted to get away from that oppression.
Ultimately, there was a big, the cornerstone of the whole thing was less frustrating to play as and play against,
Yep.
right?
That was the objective.
Yeah.
That was the objective.
For now, it was not to buff Legion to top tier.
No, no. Make him less annoying to play against, and hopefully keep him at the same level of power or buff him.
Okay.
And it feels like it's been a bit of a buff. In our playtesting, we've found that Legion has had an easier time getting more than 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah, but it means that you need to change the playstyle from the previous Legion that's on the live build.
Your play style will change completely once you switch over to the new one. And once you have played the new one, like I have, if I go and play on live and I have to play against the old one, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for this to go live.
Big difference.
All right. There was a question also by Carl Tastic. Will the Legion's blood point scoring event be increased, adjusted, since the occurrence of Feral Frenzy will be decreased?
That is a very good point, and we have considered that. But we don't see indications at the moment that we need to make this adjustment. So we're going to release it as it is, but we will monitor the data carefully. And if we see Legion's blood point performance dropping relative to other killers because of this, then we will make adjustments as we need to. So we're not 100% done with that part of the balancing yet.
All right.
Cool.
There's 2 questions. Special question I just added because I
Okay.
checked stuff in the chat.
Okay.
There was a question about the Legion achievement.
The range
actually.
pursuit?
Yeah.
That's
So
the
how
one.
do you get that one? Does it change anything right now?
The way it is on Steam, once it ships, it will be apply Deep Wound to somebody and then down them. Now, because you can't remove their Deep Wound timer in Feral Frenzy anymore, how do you down them? In Feral Frenzy and hit them and down them. So if they have a Deep Wound on them, you're not in Feral Frenzy, and you hit them and they go down,
It still
that
works
triggers
towards
toward the achievement.
All right, so that
Awesome.
answers it. Good. The other question I had from the chat was, why do Survivor get a speed boost with the Feral Frenzy?
Okay.
Because from what I've seen on watching people play, it seems like the second hit that they would like to hit, they can't hit because the person's going to get too much
Yes.
distance.
Yes. So what you should do is cancel Frenzy. You should not hit them the second time because it only gives them the speed boost, and since it doesn't remove time from their Deep Wound timer anymore, it's a really bad move to hit somebody a second time with it. And you should use the Frenzy to catch up with them, and then
But then
use
you're-
whatever control you use to cancel Frenzy.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate
That's fine.
there, but then you get a 4-second stun.
You do, but if you hit them, you get a 4-second stun, and they get the movement boost.
They get a lot more distance. Now, there are situations where you might want to hit the guy, right? Like if they're in the corner of the map, and you know there's nowhere for these people to go, or you've seen their behavior before, and they seem to drop pallets after getting hit, you might want to hit them. But that's more of a mind game and a thought process as towards how this person is playing and how you can abuse how they're behaving at the moment.
This guy is a next level player.
All right. Did you have anything else on
Actually, I
Legion
wanted
specifically?
to mention one other thing that we did do was update the add-ons, right?
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah,
did a
that's a
full
big-
pass on the add-ons.
Yeah. So if you guys want, if you guys want to give your feedback on what the add-ons that we've done as changes are, we'd love to hear it.
I will mention one add-on change. The
Yeah.
big one
Yeah.
is iridescent button. It used to be you would hit somebody and enter Feral Frenzy. No, you enter Feral Frenzy, you hit someone to apply a deep wound, and then if you vaulted a pallet, it would break. Well, it was too hard to do. So now, if you activate Feral Frenzy and you have the button, you will break any pallet you vault.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so
a
while
good-
you're in Feral Frenzy,
Yes.
you will break the pallet. So
Yep.
this is what people expected when they used it in the first place. They were confused as to why it was not working.
Yep.
Now it will work as they expected.
So we clarified it and gave it a buff.
Awesome, cool.
All
Thank you,
right.
Ethan. That's dope.
So, I think we're going to jump to Endgame Collapse now. So we're going to invite Guillaume. Thank you, Ethan,
Okay.
for joining us
Thank you
today.
so very
We
much.
might ask you a few questions in general, like from here. If you want to stay, that would be great.
I will.
All right.
Not a problem.
And now dual wielding. I was kidding.
And then what? Sorry.
Dual wielding. I was kidding.
You're just going to have like
Oh, fine.
revert, like.
Keep my clothes. And put it to be at this side? Okay. I'd like to apologize to all the people who were listening to my mic while I was changing it. I kind of saw, yeah. Oh, and the achievement change would be happening on console and on PC.
I'm not. Do they hear us, Guillaume? Just to make sure. All right, cool. So yes, you can repeat that.
So the achievement change for Noreen's Pursuit would be happening on console and PC for those of you who asked in the chat.
Yeah. All right. So we have Guillaume with us.
Hi.
Welcome.
How you doing?
So Guillaume works specifically on the Endgame Collapse. So he came in today to explain to you a little bit about it and also answer a few questions we had on forums about it.
Yes.
So,
Maybe we can, jump in through the question right away because basically they're all very good and they pretty much answer everything I wanted to cover with the,
Oh, that's
the
awesome.
new mechanics. So
so,
let's straight in.
so Flash Freeze
Awesome.
is asking, what was the thought process behind creating this new endgame, and what were the previous iteration of it that didn't make the cut?
Okay, so it's kind of a two-parts question, but the first part is we have a backlog of things that we want to improve or fix in our game, and one of them was like stalling games that were stretching too long, player holding hostage games as well, or a 1v1 situation where you just feel desperate, where all hopes are lost for the survivors. So we wanted to give opportunities to for those players and also prevent those situations, and at the same time maybe create some excitement and new gameplay. So build a pretty nice package for the players for those situations. Yeah.
Yeah, and the hatch standoff, which is one of the
Yeah, as well.
the
Yeah,
game lots.
yeah, totally.
Kick that hatch.
Yeah, and then the different iteration. Well, there's a few things that are worth mentioning. One of them is the timer duration. We went through a few different iterations from a very short timer, which was very stressful, to a longer timer. And maybe it's the time to
We didn't talk about the changes yet, but we can talk about that as well as we're going through
Yeah.
it.
yeah? Should we
Yeah,
wait
we
or
can-
just let
No,
as
you
we
can,
go?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so basically we had a 3-minute timer with the slowdown on the PTB, and with the feedback that we have and the way we saw our players play the game, we decided to reduce the timer to a 2-minute
Yeah.
timer, 2 minutes timer. We still have the slowdown, which is really important, I think, and we're going to cover that a little bit later.
Awesome.
But the timer have been reduced to 2 minutes, so I think it's going to be for the best.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so the next question, because that question came back a lot, because
Yes.
it was not really clear at first, like what was triggering the end game and what was happening in the end game. So there's kind of two phases.
Yes.
There's before the end game collapse, like the gens are done, but it's not the end game. And
Uh-huh.
So Jigmax's asking, why should the collapse begin when one of the gates get open instead when the last gen gets powered?
Yes, it's a very good question, and this is actually something else that we iterated a lot. What are the different conditions that trigger the end game collapse? And basically, our first iteration was when all the gens were completed, the collapse was triggering right away, but it was putting too much pressure too soon right away on the survivor to exit the match. Basically, you just finished the gens. There might be survivors on hook or that needed healing or something like that. Maybe you wanted to go for chest and things like that, and that timer was just like in your face right away too soon. So we decided to put that. So basically, also it gave more of a choice for the survivor to decide when they want to trigger the end game collapse, if it's going to be the survivors who triggers the end game collapse. So that was the reason.
Awesome.
All right, Chris is asking, when the hatch are closed, sometimes the gate are really close to each other. The killer can just camp until the timer expires, making it an easy kill. The distance between doors will be increased. Is the distance between doors be
Will.
increased?
Will
Be-
the distance.
will the,
Yeah.
yeah.
The distance
I'm
between doors
reading
be
what's
increased.
written,
I
and
know,
that's
I
how
know.
they wrote it, but it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, actually, there's already rules in terms of where the gates can spawn, but because the way our map are built and they're all different layout and it's procedural, we don't have like full control over where they spawn. At the same time, it could also happen that the two gates are very far apart, which makes it easy for the survivors. So we kind of agreed from the beginning that there's going to be there's going to be times where they're close from each other and it's going to be an advantage for the killer. Other times it's going to be an advantage for the survivor. But if you play multiple games in a row, at some point it's going to even out. And we felt comfortable with that decision.
So it's randomly generated,
Yeah.
but for both sides. So
Exactly.
basically, one game you're lucky, you're playing killer, and they're all close together. You decide to close that hatch, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
There are, and nothing is set in stone with what we do as well. As a live product, we have the opportunity to change some things and to modify some things. So we will watch, we will see, and maybe there are changes we could possibly do. I don't know exactly what we were doing specifically, but there are things that we could possibly do for that as well.
Yeah, we didn't want also to pull too many levers at the same time. So if we start, okay, we introduce new mechanics, and we change the spawning of the gates, and we change the spawning of the. At some point, we're making too many changes too quickly to the game. So we'll see if we need to adapt. But I think we feel pretty good with it right now.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Demon Daddy is asking, why was the choice of slowing the counter made for dying survivors instead of speeding it up to encourage quick escapes or dangerous saves to buy time?
Okay. Well, with the timer, we realized that once things were getting a bit like.
Meaningful interaction.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted when you got those opportunities for rescue or for healing, we wanted the player to feel encouraged to be able to do that and feel safe to be able to do that. Not safe, but like at least give them opportunities to do it. So that's why we introduced that slowdown of the timer. Why we did not speed it up or not actually even think about it is the problem. We always, as a player, need to be able to predict at least how much time you have left before you die. So if at some point we start speeding up the timer, then all your estimation like
Gets thrown off.
Yeah, it gets thrown off, and it's not really good, and it could be lead to frustration. So that's not the way we wanted to go.
So basically, we still wanted endgame gameplay.
Oh yeah,
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much of a slowdown is it? There's a lot of people who've been asking, they've
Yep.
been theorizing, but
it's going half speed.
half speed. All
So
right.
now the timer is 2 minutes as of like today. So basically, if the timer was slowed down the whole time, it would last up to 3 minutes.
All right.
So it's like half speed,
Okay.
between
Awesome.
2 and 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's-
I was like,
You're making me like second guess myself, but I'm pretty sure it's half speed. So whatever, yeah, it's 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes.
all right. Dark Wolf is asking, what's the benefit for a killer if they decide to open the exit gates, since survivors can just leave?
Yes. Well, there's two things we can think right away is if the survivors do not want to leave, like you're playing with your friends, you're having a good time, let's loop that killer forever. Then the killer's, I don't want to disconnect, but I want this game to end. Okay, in 3 minutes it's going to be over. You guys are going to get out, and maybe I get up to
2
3 minutes. I gotta get used to it. And or maybe just strategy. You know, you down a survivor, you open the gate, and you go okay, and you do something with that. And I am gonna come back to that a little bit later with another particular case with a killer. But there's most likely just to for the killer to decide if they want to trigger the endgame collapse.
Also, strategy-wise, we were talking about like exit gates being close together. Maybe at some point it's a good time for the killer to open it.
Maybe it's
Depending on what they're
opportunities
playing.
for the players. Yeah.
Ninja Midness. I'm not sure your name. Stop
That was a
laughing
good try.
at me.
64.
64.
Don't forget that.
Will there be any old or new perks for Killer or Survivor that affect the collapse time limit?
That
We-
sounds
yeah,
interesting.
we thought about it, but it was too soon. We didn't want to throw too many things at the mechanic right away. But I mean, for the future, there's definitely opportunities with that.
I know we talked about Blood Warden at some point. It's like, does it pause the timer? And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh shit.
Uh-huh.
But you know,
Yeah,
we'll
counter
see.
plays to. I mean, there's opportunities. That's for sure. And that's something we really like as designers to be able to use those new mechanics to introduce more gameplay.
Yes.
But for now, no, we didn't do it.
All right. Peeping Peacock is asking, what's the justification behind the Remember Me nerf and the exit gate opening buff? Well, now we reverted it back to 20 seconds. Just
Spoiler.
so everyone knows.
Spoiler. That way.
But-
No, that's
But
perfect.
what about the Remember Me? Because we changed the numbers of Remember Me, and it's been basically nerfed.
Okay. Yeah.
So what happens with that?
Yeah. Well, two things. First, you heard correct. Now the gate opening time is reverted back to 20 seconds. Basically, 15 seconds. It was something we iterated on, and we went back to 20 seconds. The other thing is why we changed the Remember Me. Basically, again, when we introduced an game scenario, we wanted to see what are the different scenario story where we have it can be very hurtful for a survivor or killer, like extremes, and we felt that this perk for the lone survivor, you would have no opportunity at all almost to exit the trial.
So Killer triggers endgame collapse. Survivor has the Remember Me debuff on
Yeah, I
him.
mean, this guy is not going to get out, and we don't want players to disconnect. We want to give opportunity, we want to give hope to be able to escape. So this is something that we felt was too strong during in-game scenario. That's why we nerfed the perk a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. There's a short list of common concerns
Yes.
with like a couple of things. I'm gonna keep this one, the first one, for last because I think it's gonna be a little longer than the other ones.
Maybe not.
So the effect of the endgame collapse on the ground, there's been a lot of feedback on having difficulties as killer to track with scratch marks.
Yep.
So what's your take on it?
So based on the feedback, we just increased it tremendously. No, it's,
Oh my God. It's-
no.
There it is. It's clipped. It's on Reddit. It's done.
It's all
over.
red now. No, we toned it down even more. So at the beginning, we had the same effects for Survivor and Killer. We noticed that it was too hard to follow scratch marks, so we toned it down quite a bit for the Killer. And we were fine with the fact that towards the end of the on-game collapse, it was a bit harder to follow scratch marks because most likely the survivor is going to get sacrificed by the entity. But based on the feedback we received, we as of yesterday, we reduced the effect even more. So it's going to be very subtle. There's still going to be something, but it's going to be way more subtle.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. They're asking as well, what does the collapse kill count as?
It's a kill, just like a sacrifice.
It's a sacrifice.
It's a count as a kill.
A kill is a mori.
Yeah.
No, a kill.
Yeah. A kill or
Yeah.
a sacrifice?
A sacrifice.
Okay, sacrifice then.
Yeah,
So you get the
right.
points for the sacrifice.
Yeah, not a mori. Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they yeah, you know.
There was
It's
a
different points.
mix-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How is the endgame collapse affect emblems?
Scoring is the same. It's the same scoring, and actually we added some scoring events for and bonuses for
Post exit gate
exactly.
opening.
Yeah, once the
saves.
AGS are triggered, the save, the rescue, the healing.
Yeah.
Same thing for the killer, downing a survivor, hooking a survivor, sacrificing a survivor during AGS.
You also get more blood points. In addition to the emblems, right?
Yeah, because you have like
Yeah,
more actions.
more blood points.
Super cool.
Yeah,
More blood points for everyone.
All right, here we go.
yeah.
Reverse bear trap changes and pig chases changes.
Yes.
Why?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer the first part, and then
Yeah,
once we
the
start
reverse bear trap
debating,
one,
I'm just gonna.
And then we're gonna
leave.
talk about the.
I'm just gonna leave. But the thing is, when we decided the endgame scenario, we realized. Sorry about that. We realized that like if the survivor would have to find a jigsaw box, remove their trap, while there's now a 2-minute timer, like.
Or less, for that matter. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean, like, you could have gotten that on with like a minute left.
Yeah, exactly. Like 15 seconds left, you put the trap. Oh, I cannot exit anymore. I gotta fight in a jigsaw box. I mean, it was just too strong.
I think there's another thing that we should mention that Jeff talked about as well, is that we changed the spawning rules for the boxes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now they are further apart,
They're more regulated. So it's
more
just something
regulated.
to each
So
other.
it's harder for survivors to go to each of the boxes.
Yeah.
So that was not mentioned anywhere as well. I don't think so.
I think that was done before. Was it this patch?
It
or
was the
prior?
previous patch, I think.
And we also accepted the fact that still, if you were to put like traps on Survivor before the endgame scenario and the endgame collapse, trigger, it would still be like pretty hard for Survivor to still like go around, find the box, to take off the trap, and exit. So, and you were discussing what would be a reason for the killer to trigger the endgame collapse. That would be one. If you put traps on your survivor, I would like to be able to trigger the endgame collapse myself and put that like extra pressure on survivor to take off the trap and try to exit within that 2 minutes timer. So we still think that it's almost like it sounds like it's pretty fair for the.
So player who gets a reverse bird trap put on and then the 5 gens pop and the exit gates are powered, it's still going to be active.
Oh yeah, it's active.
If someone opens the door and the endgame collapse starts, it's still active. The person still needs to get it out.
If the survivors
As
have
long as
triggered
it's
the gens.
active before the endgame collapse.
Before the 5th gen.
Yeah.
Before the
So
5th gen.
basically a generator.
Even the 5th gen, right?
Yeah, even the 5th.
As long as the generator pops,
Yeah.
Yep.
that thing starts triggering.
Exactly.
Right? So it's survivor controlled
Yeah.
to a lot of
Exactly.
lot of extent. Actually, what we're expecting from pig players is to put on your traps during the course of the game. The strategy, or the big strategy, at least before, was putting the traps on as the game went on, and you save your traps for later in the game. As the delayed tactics of stopping people from getting out of the game, the map itself, was the big goal, right? And the big payoff. Now you have the end game that will have this extra bolstering effect, where if you catch somebody and you put them on the hook, you get that extra pressure already, right? So if you use your bear traps earlier, before the actual gens are popped, you still get that strength, you still get that delay of game. That's what the RBTs have always been meant to delay the hell out of the game, and they still do a fantastic job. If someone forgets or ignores the fact that they have a reverse bear trap on their head, they will die.
Oh yeah, they will.
Right? So you use that to your advantage. There might still be other changes that will come to the pig.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we
How would
can
they
get
add?
maybe a little
A
in
little
this.
further? Yeah.
Okay, because the second change that we made was change the reverse bear trap timer stopping when she wasn't chased.
Yeah.
Now it's when the player, the survivor, I'll get it, survivor is within the terror radius. So what was the thought behind that?
Well, we did the change to the Legion, where the deep wounds timer would not go down as well as the borrowed time. Deep wounds time would not go down as long as you're within the terror radius. This was to avoid the exploit of moonwalking and whatnot. The pig has a built-in crouch mechanic where she loses the terror radius, so she can still abuse the bear traps and the taking down. I don't believe that. Well, we tried something, right? With the timer being paused within the terror radius. We thought it would be something quite interesting to try, and maybe something that would actually work quite well. I think there needs to be more changes done at the same time to still keep her viability in general.
Okay, so we're acknowledging this.
Well, we're going to revert the change.
Which one? Just make sure
Sorry.
that everyone
Yeah.
gets
We're going
it.
to revert the terror radius, stopping the timer from going down, the RBT timer from
Okay.
going down, when the survivor's within the actual terror radius.
Okay.
And we'll be holding off to try to do other changes that will address the pig in general. And if it takes away too much power from the pig, we'll see how we can buffer in other ways. I've seen suggestions to buff her lunge, her dash attack, which could be a possibility. Stay tuned and we'll see what we can do.
All right.
Sure.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
My
Well,
pleasure.
well, one last thing about endgame collapse is one thing we have to realize is it's not going to affect all the games. Like players who play normally, who open the gate and exit, they won't like get the full effect. Basically, it's just like, oh, it's business as usual for me. It's only like it's mostly for edge cases and things like that. Now I know for PTB players just were just lingering in the game, see how it would look like, and then they realize, okay, well, at 3 minutes. Waiting 3 minutes, I could have left like a long time ago. So in normal games, like it won't affect you that much. It's only like 1v1 situation where you're the last survivor. You didn't like your team didn't get to do a lot of generator. You instead of just like leaving the match and okay, I have a chance to escape. So it's just opportunities, and I feel that also. We built a pretty nice package, like art-wise. It sounds good. It looks good. I think it's going to be. We could have just like changed the rules, but instead of that, we put a lot of effort to make it look nice and play nice. So
Some love.
yeah, so hopefully you guys like it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I hear that people want to put that the bell sound as a ringer,
Uh-huh.
the notification sound on their phones. Yeah, it seems like they like
Yeah,
that.
and those entity sacrifice look very good, and people are okay. Could we just like could we trigger that instead of like a killer Mori? Could you have the entity come up?
That would be really cool.
Those kind of things. So I mean,
Yeah.
it sparked a lot of ideas because it looks nice and sounds nice, and it was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. We're currently testing dedicated servers
That's
on
true.
the PTB. Our tech team is following up like really, really closely on the data we're receiving. Currently, I'm going. This is an introduction to one general question that we saw a lot. Why is there no server in Australia? And / add any other country that asks why they don't have a server in their country. Right now they're looking at the ping between players in each region, between players and each data center. So that's why we're testing the infrastructure right now. It's to determine where we will need to put our effort and everything.
Awesome.
And also to see how our system is working currently. Because we did put a little warning in our announcement, but we're really testing the infrastructure. So gameplay right now is...
We'd love to hear your feedback all
Yeah,
the same,
we-
but it's not the main focus of
It's
this
not the
test.
main focus, so
Alright,
it's not been polished that
No,
much.
exactly. No, this is not the final version of the
Yeah.
dedicated server that will be coming out. We know there are issues in registering hits or whatever the case may be. We'd love to hear your feedback all the same, as game designers and as the tech team itself. But right now, it's strictly for testing geolocation and
And,
where we need to put our efforts, of course.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so going back to general PTB questions, we have a few questions from the forum as well. Crystal Chaos, why did you decide to make getting stack for We're Gonna Live Forever harder? I need to like rephrase those things because
That's okay. Let me answer that question for you. So, We're Gonna Live Forever was nicknamed at one point in time. We're gonna farm forever. Now, this was slightly. People thought it was a little douchebaggery, if I may.
what
where
do you mean? Everyone likes to be farm off the hook.
What? No, of course not. So basically, what would happen is people would come run to you while you're on the hook, and the killer's staring at you, or like they'd bring the killer with him, and they're like, "Oh, I can do this. I can do it on hook now." And then you get your point for your "We're gonna live forever," and then the other guy goes down again, and he gets rehooked, and you're just like, "Ah, I'm gonna go get him again," and you're just like, "That sucks, Jesus. Let's not do that anymore." We put in safe unhooks now, so you have to unhook somebody and keep them safe for the time being. If the killer hits you while you're trying to protect,
You're getting another
this guy,
stack.
You're getting another stack.
That's
two
awesome,
stacks.
right?
That's pretty dope. Yeah. So look out
So-
for that. I hope it's not too difficult. I mean, like, just take care of your homies. We're gonna live forever.
So we don't see it as a nerf. We see it as a quality of life update
Absolutely.
on this perk.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people ask for this. I think this is a very logical step.
And now it can change the unofficial "We're gonna farm forever" name.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Bring back the love.
Yes. So Chaotic Riddle is asking, with how the feedback has been with some of these changes, are you likely going to go through with it entirely, or was it only a test? Well,
When they say these changes, are you talking about everything?
so this is a question on
PTB?
general PTB, and it was
Oh, yes,
a
okay.
question that we got before we did the little update today.
Okay, cool.
It's a bit of both. A bit
A
of
little bit,
testing.
a little
and-
bit of both.
Yeah. So we have done some changes already, as I can go over them if you'd like. As Guillaume had mentioned, the endgame timer is reduced to 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes. The gate timer reverted to 20 seconds instead of the 15 seconds that we had put it down to. The intensity of the ground VFX has been reduced tremendously, slightly, something for the killer, you'll notice it. And added the ability to search lockers in Feral Frenzy as the Legion. Reduced values of fatigue reduction add-ons. So basically the add-ons that were reducing your cooldown when you're going into the fatigue are not as strong as they used to be. And you do not lose Feral Frenzy on pallet stuns when you're not in Feral Frenzy yourself. And we also reverted the change to RBT progression pausing while you are in the terror radius for the pig. So yes, we will do changes. We are happy with testing stuff out, but we are also happy to revise our changes with community feedback. We would love for you guys to keep playing the game, obviously. So, you know.
Validate our changes and testing our changes. So
Yes.
Hell yeah.
then it's like, okay, this is good, and if it needs to some tweak, then we're gonna do it.
Absolutely.
I've seen a lot of question about disconnection handling and the hitboxes, specifically with the PTB dedicated server test right now. So basically, the only thing that we can say right now is that we're absolutely aware that this is going to be something we need to look at for dedicated servers. Some people on the team already started working on this. And hopefully, and this is just a plan, we're planning on talking about it and giving more details in the next dev update. So that's a plan. If we can,
Awesome.
and we're ready, we're going to give more details. If we can't, I'm going to tell you.
More communication is
More
good.
communication.
Communication is
How is the
relationship.
communication in the last few weeks?
Let us know.
Let us know, because we worked hard on this.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Just a recap, really quickly, if I find... Où est-ce qu'elle est ma feuille?
You wanted this one?
Quelle est ma feuille? Okay, I got
watching
my
it.
cheat. We're good. All right, so just a quick recap. Legion update. We had Ethan with us to talk about Legion update
Yeah.
and game scenario. Thank you, Guillaume, for
You're
coming.
welcome.
Awesome.
It's awesome. General PTB changes, dedicated servers, everything. We answer a few questions on this. And next Blood Hunt, May 2nd to May 6th.
Announced by our homie Peanuts.
By who?
Did you say penis?
I said Peanuts.
All right,
I missed the
on
peak.
this very
Love.
great end of the stream, don't forget to go check out Dark Hood on
Yeah,
YouTube.
Dark Hood, that was super
Did
cool.
the
I love
awesome
that.
animation at the beginning of the stream. And check out on the forums. We're going to figure out the schedule for our next streams and everything next week.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Later.